Well, Klotz, take it away. This is your
All right, boys.
Breakout.
And I'm shocked that we weren't in agreement with this with Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs, if we look at him, is going to be the focal point of this offense. Last year, he was adjusting to the NFL, dealt with injuries, and then you saw a glimpse of what he could be at probably like 12 game sample size. So in my opinion, if you say that Jahmyr Gibbs broke out last year, then what is next year and the year after that? And then when he actually lives up to that number 12 overall pick, which I think starts this year. I said numerous times, I think Jahmyr Gibbs, he's going to run for 1,300 yards and probably have 400 to 500 yards in the receiving game. That's 17 to 1,800 yards. That's going to be a top 3 running back in the NFL. That's going to be the focal point of the Detroit Lions offense, which he was not last year. There was certain games where he was, but consistently this year, behind the best offensive line in football, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be, in my opinion, hate it for all you want, the best running back in the NFL, because I do not see a way where Christian McCaffrey stays healthy this year. I don't. I think there's not going to be another year like that. So in my opinion, that's the biggest breakout you could potentially have on this team. Next is Aleem McNeil. DJ Reader coming in on the other side, Aiden Hutchinson. They're going to have that rotation of defensive ends that I'm not very big fan of. But I think DJ Reader helps Aleem McNeil on a contract year, which is going to motivate him even more. Go get 8-9 sacks this year. And I think when you look at what he had last year, 6.5, I think if you watch his game, it's going to look a lot more polished too. Brian Branch, like Jeff said, like statistically, it's going to be hard for him to take a jump, but I think he goes from Pro Bowler to All Pro. I think he's a top 3 safety in the NFL this year. I think him, Kyle Hamilton, and Hufanga over in with San Francisco are the top 3 safeties. And again, it's not a statistical jump, but I think just level and play, he really takes another step this year. And Jack Campbell, I think it's going to be really hard for him to overtake Anzalone, especially at the beginning of the season. I think if you look at Brian Branch, he's going to be safety 1. If you look at Aleem McNeil, defensive tackle 1, Jahmyr Gibbs, RB1. I think Jack Campbell's going to have a really hard time becoming LB1 because Alex Anzalone is coming off his best season, and I don't really see him declining. And at the end of the day, he is the overall captain of that defense beside Aiden Hutchinson. And Jamison Williams. I think J-Mo's going to take a big step, but just going back to my argument with Jack Campbell, I think he's even more so. He's entering as the wide receiver, too. We all expect him to. I think he's going to get around 800 yards, but I still think he's going to take a significant impact as far as a role with this team.
Interesting.
Wow.
Can I preface one thing too real quick before we do our other list with Klotzy's list?
Yeah, we'll discuss them each one by one.
This is the thing, Klotzy, and I think me and you we're in agreement on this. I think it's like I'm trying to what's the word I'm looking for? It's like I didn't put Jahmyr Gibbs on. I think he's going to do what you said, because like we're not going to even get in an argument about this because we agree 100. We're in lockstep. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a top 3. Like right now, in my opinion, I've said this multiple times on this show. Jahmyr Gibbs at this moment after this season is a top 5 running back in the NFL. I fully believe in that. If you just watch football and watch the game, you know he is one of the best in the league right now. Whether his stats said it or not last year, he split a backfield with D-Mont, and he was injured for 2 or 3 games. So Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the best in the league. If he was in a position that other guys were, Bijan, he would have so much more numbers last season than anyone else. So I'm with Klotzy on that. I left him off my list, and I want to put an asterisk next to it because I'm one of those people, Klotzy. I know he wasn't an all-pro player because Christian McCaffrey and the guys that played this. I think Jahmyr Gibbs broke out last year, and I think he already put the NFL on notice. And I get he's going to take that next step. But when I look at breakout players, it's so, like, who doesn't the NFL truly know about yet? And next year, that's going to be like, oh, this is a dude. Jahmyr Gibbs is top 5 already. That's where I'm at. So I'm not going to argue with you. We're not arguing on this. Klotz, you can say anything. I'm not arguing. Me and you are lockstep. You can argue with Jeff down there.
This is where I also will be like,
We're not arguing.
My thought process at the end of that, my further explanation is, I think with us being Detroit Lions fans, we're very easy to say that. But I think there's still people that put Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry. There's still those type of people.
No, I disagree. Want to know why? He was a Pro Bowler and they weren't. He was a Pro Bowler and they weren't.
He's a Pro Bowl alternate.
He still got picked over.
I agree, but Booner, what I'm saying is
the NFL knows about this kid.
If Jahmyr Gibbs broke out this year, I'm going to be pretty pissed off. I just will. I think he's a great player, but his ceiling
You're arguing with the wrong guy. You're arguing with the wrong guy.
There shouldn't be an argument then. There shouldn't be an argument.
I just wanted, the only thing I'm saying is he's not on my list because I think he's already at that level. Done. That's it. Argument done. Before anyone's like, why is it Jahmyr Gibbs on your list, Booner? It's because he is already top 5 in the NFL. Now, Klotzy, go head to head with Jeff, please.
Well, here's the thing. I actually understand what Lucas is saying because, like, if you again,
no, backpedal. Just talk about.
No. I'm getting there. Let me.
Okay, thank you.
Take this journey with me, Booner. Take this journey.
I love a good journey.
So I get what Lucas is saying because that's why breakout can sometimes be subjective because breakout. So if Booner, if he comes out and has 1,300 rushing yards and let's say 400 or 500 receiving, Booner's opinion doesn't change. Like he didn't break out. Like he's still Jahmyr Gibbs.
It's different for everyone. That's why I don't want to.
I would agree that that's breaking out. I think that's breakout because now he's on, like, now you're like, okay, this dude is basically almost leading the league in rushing. Like that's
I think it's similar like the Jordan Love situation. Like Jordan Love didn't break out this year. You got a glimpse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No.
And I think it's even worse for Gibbs because at least Jordan was like.
This is what I don't want to get in the argument.
Touchdowns. Gibbs still can. He's still like. I mean, he was what 500 yards short from McAffrey in rushing. So like, I mean, But here's where I don't agree.
Thank you. Let's move on because there's no reason for us to argue if we think Jahmyr Gibbs.
No. Boys, this isn't Jeff's philosophy. Certainly not. Because if I draft a running back at 12, he is going to be a big part of my offense. That is what I believe. I don't think the Lions are going to use him like you're saying. I don't think Jahmyr. I think in an ideal world, you sign Dave Montgomery, you draft Jahmyr Gibbs. Those two are going to continue to split carries, whether you like it or not, unless there's an injury to Dave Montgomery that puts him out, half the season or most of the season. And now you're getting in some Vaki in there. And now it's basically a Jahmyr Gibbs, he's dominating carries. He is not going to get the touches to get 17, 18, close to 2,000 yards from scrimmage. I think his next year, guys, will be similar to this year. I think it'll be maybe 1,000. He'll probably maybe reach 1,000, a little over 1,000. But that's how they want to use Gibbs because you don't want to wear him down to where he's hurt. Now, that's the Lions' philosophy. That is not my philosophy on running backs. You draft them to use them and be a big part of your offense. But it's hard when you have that thunder lightning. You get Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr. I do think to kind of go against you a little bit here, Lucas. Best back in the league unless McAffrey falls and gets hit by a train. There is no way.
Or he gets hurt with Jazz for the duration of his career.
That's fair. But there's no way McAffrey had the numbers he had alone in a backfield. Like Jahmyr shares it with Dave Montgomery. He's not going to do that. He's just not. And even Wilson, he's saying it's like Jeff just started watching football with some dumb shit he says. I mean, I don't know if we're watching the same Lions team. They share a backfield. I don't think you've ever
seen Jahmyr Gibbs play football.
No, he is talented. My argument
why wouldn't you get him the ball more? Sorry,
my argument is not his talent. My argument is I don't think they want to use him the way the 49ers use McCaffrey because they don't want to get him hurt. And they have Dave Montgomery there. But
my whole thing is just like, do we not forget about the first 7 weeks of the season? Where they weren't using, like, we were Lions fans complaining about when are we going to see Jahmyr Gibbs be used? And then at the end of the season, we're like, oh, this is what we've been waiting for. And he put up pretty much 1,000 purpose yards over that stretch of the season. And so when you look at that and translate, okay, now he's going to move from RB2 to RB1 because they made him earn that RB1 spot, which he did, in my opinion. And he's going to be one of those players where it's like, all right, yeah, they're probably going to, in my opinion, they're probably ideally going, yeah, we want to split this up a little bit more so it's favoring Jahmyr not getting hurt. But then I think there's players and this goes just for any NFL scheme, where you give that guy the ball. I'm sure the Titans with Derrick Henry, I know is different build-wise, but they didn't want to hand him as much as they can. But when you give Derrick Henry the ball, he makes plays. Jahmyr Gibbs, they're not going to give him Derrick Henry carries, but he's going to be one of those guys where it's hard not to give him the ball. When he's playing behind this offensive line with how good it is, and you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jamison Williams helps back those safeties up, it's a nightmare for teams. And it's one of those things where he can get in one carry what a lot of running backs get in 2 to 3. So that's where I don't even care, where I do think his carries are going to go up. But even if they don't take like a 30% gap, I still think his numbers are going to go sky high through the roof.
My thing is, if it ain't broke, you don't have to fix it. Like, their run game is efficient. If you want to balance out, maybe give Gibbs a little more carries, okay, cool. But this is my opinion on it. You keep Gibbs fresh to where, this man is just that's why it's thunder lightning, right? You put Dave Montgomery out there on first down. He's wearing down the defense. And then here comes Gibbs. Boom. Defense is tired. His quickness, his speed. There you go. Like, it's a good change of pace. It's not that I think he's reached his ceiling for talent, but I'm just saying for the Lions, what they want to use, how they want to use Gibbs. My thoughts on it. I don't think they want to give him, a Kyron Williams workload or a Christian McCaffrey workload or you brought up Derrick Henry workload, like, or Zeke with the Cowboys when he was first drafted, that workload. I just don't think they want to give him that.
Jeff, I don't think they need to get I just did the math. After he came back from injury, he averaged over 90 yards per game.
On how many carries?
I don't even care. When he came back from injury all the way to the end of the season when they lost, he averaged over 90 yards per. Who cares how many carries? Because to your point, you think he's going to get essentially the same amount as last year because they don't want to overdo that. So if he just goes out there and say he plays in 17 games, and let's count the playoffs. Say they play in 2 or 3 playoff games. Or even if we just count the regular season in 17 games, that's like 1,600 yards alone. And that's just because, like, to Lucas's point, before he got injured, he wasn't getting the rock as much as you would want him to. And not even that, when he was getting the ball and he was getting his carries, he was fresh in this league. There was clearly some times in this first couple of games, and I remember sitting there watching it with you, Klotzy, and Jeff, like, in the watch parties. There was clearly, like, he's still trying to figure out the NFL and what it is. Now he knows what it is. Now he's been a part of that. He just had 3 games in the playoffs to where he went out there and dominated, had a touchdown in every single game. And he went through a stretch of football, like that Raiders game when he had like 180, almost 200 all-purpose yards. Let him go out there and even if you get him the same carries, he's only going to get better. He's only going to get better, even if you give him the same amount of carries, Jeff. Now, to Lucas's point, give him more carries. If you have the best back in the NFL, why would you not find a way to get him the rock more? Serious, even if you're like, I don't want him to get hurt. Sorry, D-Mont, it's going to happen. You have a guy that's, to Lucas's, what he's saying, could be the number 1 running back in the NFL. If you had Christian McCaffrey and D-Mont, what are you going to do? Hey, let's just split carries. Why not? Why? Hey, we got Christian McCaffrey. Hey, D-Mont. Hey, we just want to make you. No, like, you have the best in the NFL. You give him the ball. And I think he does that. I think he gets 600 or 1,600 plus this year, all purpose.
Yeah, I think real quick, Jeff, before you go, I think we've seen a similar situation to a player that Jahmyr Gibbs was comped with in Alvin Kamara. When Alvin Kamara got to New Orleans, Mark Ingram was there, and he was a damn good running back. And then when it started, it was like 50-50. Then you see it was like, okay, now it's 70-30. And the next year, Mark Ingram's out of New Orleans. He's signed as a Baltimore Raven. And I'm not saying that the Detroit Lions are just going to ship D-Mont out of there, but they saw, like, holy shit, this guy is special. How could, like, we love you, Mark. But if we're comparing it, if we need to win games, we need to go down the field quick. And I think in the offenses they're going to be playing against this year, these games are going to be very competitively offensively because the Lions defense is going to have to step up, and which I think they will. But now these drives on offense matter even more. They got to get down the field a little bit quicker, or they need to drain the clock more. That either way benefits Jahmyr in the 3-minute or the 2-minute drills. He's going to be the third down running back type of guy. So I just think it's going to be hard not for him to take a significant jump statistically.
Well, here's the thing with the to give him, like, oh, you see what he does in the sample size, like, give him more carries. Here's the kicker with that, because more carries, that yards per carry will go down. That's how that works. I mean, he brought up Alvin Kamara. His first year in the league, he was averaging 6.1 yards per carry. You know what he gave him last year in the last 2 years? 4. 3.9 last year and 4 the year prior. 3.7 that year prior.
A lot of injuries.
When you look at no Drew Brees, you got Taysom Hill at quarterback, Michael Thomas hurt. The Lions aren't going to be in that situation. And the other thing is, again, the Lions' offensive line is another reason why he's going to benefit from this breakout. Alvin Kamara 2 years ago, he was – if you look at Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey before this year, their stat line is damn near identical. And that's the thing where it's just
Jeff, real quick.
And this is while he had Michael Thomas outside there being what was the number one wide receiver in football during his time with the most receptions in a single season in NFL history. And he was still going crazy.
Real quick, too. I want to, and I think there's going to be a situation where Ben Johnson, that is, now has been in a room with, he's coached D-Mont and Jahmyr Gibbs for a whole season. I think there's going to be a situation next year. I don't think D-Mont's going to sit there and take a big back seat at all. I think you're still going to see a lot of D-Mont carries, Jeff, to your point. I just think now going into this year, the weapon you have in Jahmyr Gibbs, you would be, and Ben Johnson's the best in the league. If Ben Johnson is who we think he is going to find ways to get more touches than he did with Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yes.
Whether they're going to be both on the field at the same time, you're going to see Gibbs in the slot. You're going to see, you're going to see a lot of different sets. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, no, Jeff, like I just like D-Mont's not going to get the touch. D-Mont's still going to be D-Mont, except like now you have no Josh Reynolds. Now, okay, maybe we're overlooking the DPJ thing, and maybe Gibbs not going to obviously be a Josh, but like maybe he's going to get more touches in different spots than we thought. Maybe he's getting more trust in this offense because last year we thought he was going to be lined up out way more often than he was. At the end of the year, he started to more because early in the season, early in his career as a rookie, he was dropping some passes. It wasn't as reliable, but as the year went by, he was making more catches. He was more reliable in the pass game. Now I think that's where we can make this argument. Yeah, maybe he gets some more carries, which he probably will when you know who Ben Johnson is and the weapon Gibbs is. You're just going to see Gibbs on the field a lot more with D-Mont, in my opinion. So I don't want to take that away from D-Mont, but I think you're going to see both of them a lot more.
I think in the passing game, I'm all ears. Like if you want to give him some more catches, I think he should be a bigger part of the passing game. I do. But in terms of just overall touches, and I think a couple catches a game, like he it was inconsistent last year, but I think he should be more involved in the passing game. But just in general, guys, like it's just for Gibbs with his frame, like he's so talented. This isn't even about his talent. This is just about preservation. I want to keep him fresh, especially like you said, Booner, earlier with Brian Branch. You're playing 20 games a year, given these guys make a playoff run. I want to keep this man fresh. And that's it. The Lions do it, of course. They want to keep him fresh. That's the whole point. You draft him high. Yes. My ideology on it, you draft running back high. Oh, God. I mean, yeah.
You do confuse me a little with that, though, because you are someone who is like, hey, I don't want to re-sign a running back. So in that case, if like, to your point, you don't like re-signing running backs, why wouldn't you just want to just
the Lions approach it differently because they signed Dave Montgomery and then they draft Jahmyr. So they have two backs. So it's a little different. Like if they didn't have Dave Montgomery, I'd be all with you guys. Like feed this man. Give him all the carries in the world. Make him get him top 10 in total carry. I mean, he was 28th last year in carries. I don't think he'll be that low. I think he will have more carries. I'm with you guys on the usage. But when you talk about how much they'll use him, that's the question. Lucas had him as a breakout player. I'm responding to if I think that's true or not. I don't know if they will. I don't think the usage will allow him to be a true breakout to where he's the best back in the league. That's my opinion. I think I like Monty a lot, man. He just wears down defenses, and he could
running back,
and he can like the Chargers. There's a 40, 50-yard run he could break off for too. So that's where I'm at with it. I don't think the Lions will use him that way. They want to preserve him. I don't agree with it, but that's why I disagree with the.
When you have D-Mont, you might, like you said, there's going to be some preservation with it. That's just the fact because you do have another elite running back. So it's the way of the word, man. Or how, like if I'm saying it.
Like even Atlanta they have Bijan, Tyler Algier, but you still are going to give Bijan more carries, and he's going to get a bunch of touches. But also Bijan's 6 foot. He weighs a lot more. Like it's a little different build. He's a little smaller.
Yeah.
So